I am a calamity magnet, a once-in-a-century phenomenon. On the day I was born, the delivery room lost power. At my 1-month celebration, half of the old family house collapsed. On the first day I was sent to the countryside to be fostered. All the pigs in the pigsty died. My adoptive parents are afraid of me, and the villagers avoid me. Until half a month ago, the wealthy Gu family suddenly came knocking at my door. Gu Zhendong and his wife rushed out of a Maybach and stuffed thick red envelopes into my pocket, claiming I was their long-lost biological daughter. My brother, Gu Chen, forcibly pulled me into the car, saying he was taking me back to the Gu family to live a life of ease. But the fake heiress, Gu Mengqi, had a calculating glint in her eyes. At the family reunion banquet, she smiled and linked arms with me. "Sister, welcome home. From now on, we are family, in places where no one could see." Her long nails dug sharply into my flesh. "Country bumpkin, enjoy this last bit of glory and wealth. Dad gave you a luck borrowing red envelope. Once the luck is borrowed, it will be your death day." I looked up and met her eyes, full of provocation. "Are you sure? I don't have very good luck." But in her heart, she secretly cursed. What an idiot, borrowing luck from a jinx. Isn't that just asking for death? The next second, the 200-pound crystal chandelier above her head crashed down with a thunderous roar. Ah! A piercing scream echoed throughout the entire venue. Fortunately, the safety rope caught half of it, so the chandelier didn't crush her into a pulp. Several shattered crystals struck her proud nose bridge. Gu Mengqi covered her face and rolled on the ground, blood gushing from between her fingers. My face, my nose, it hurts so much. Just had a rib rhinoplasty, and with this hit, it completely collapsed. All the guests in the room were terrified, their faces drained of color. The Gu couple rushed forward frantically. "Chi-Chi, what happened? How could the light just fall like that for no reason?" My own brother, Gu Chen, pushed me away, his eyes red as he roared. "Was it you who did this, you jinx? If anything happens to Chi-Chi, I'll kill you." I rubbed my bruised arm, blinking innocently. "Brother, I was miles away from the chandelier. Do you think I know how to use Qigong?" And I looked at Gu Mengqi, her face covered in blood and weeping bitterly, and calmly added, "I just reminded my sister that my luck really isn't good, and getting too close to me brings misfortune." Yet she insisted on coming closer. Gu Zhendong scanned the surroundings with a grim expression. With so many dignitaries and media present tonight, if the banquet ended as soon as it began, would the Gu family still have any face left? He roared at the bodyguard. "Hurry, call Diar, he. Go to the lounge and get bandaged." I lowered my head and continued shoveling rice into my mouth, eating until my lips were slick with oil. 10 minutes later, Gu Mengqi reappeared with a thick bandage plastered across the bridge of her nose. Gu's mother, Zhao Yakin, looked at her swollen, pig-like face and advised her to go back to her room to rest. "Mom, I'm not leaving. Today is my sister's big day of recognition. I can't ruin her banquet because of me. I can hold on." She wasn't doing it for me at all. She couldn't bear to let go of so many wealthy young men tonight, and she wanted to publicly confirm that I am an unlucky person, using her generosity and strength to contrast with my misfortune and vulgarity. Zhao Yakin was so heartbroken that she shed tears. "Look at our Chi-Chi, how sensible she is, unlike some wild girl from the countryside who has no manners at all." She glared at me fiercely, her eyes looking at me as if I were a damned enemy. "Lin Yuan, you better behave yourself. Later, whatever Chi-Chi says, you do it. If you mess up again, you'll have hell to pay." I shrugged and took another bite of the hairy crab. I'm actually looking forward to what's about to happen. Although the guests were startled, they were full of admiration for Gu Mengqi, who persisted despite her injuries. Miss Gu is truly resilient, unlike that newly recognized young lady, who only knows how to eat. She looks completely dumb. Gu Mengqi's triumphant gaze seemed almost capable of piercing through the gauze. She hobbled toward me, holding 2 glasses of red wine. "Sister, did I scare you just now? Let's drink a glass of wine to seal our bond. From now on, our fortunes will be linked, and we'll share both blessings and misfortunes." She deliberately emphasized the words, "fates intertwined." I glanced at the wine. The red liquid shimmered with specks of gold, and I could even catch a whiff of burnt talisman paper. This was meant to drink away my good fortune and transfer her bad luck to me. "Sister, why aren't you accepting it? Are you looking down on me?" I overheard her conversation with the master. "As long as I clink glasses with her and drink this talisman-infused wine, the luck will be transferred. The guests all gathered around, with Xiao Yakin watching covetously from the side. Lin Yuan. Not drinking means you're not giving our Gu family any face. I took the wine glass. A playful curve lifting the corner of my mouth. Want to absorb my luck? I'm afraid you can't handle it. Just as the rim of her glass touched mine, I trembled with excitement. It's done, I've done it. The next second, a crisp pop echoed. The wine glass in Gu Mengqi's hand shattered without warning. Shards flew in all directions, high concentration red wine, along with glass fragments, all shot toward the freshly treated face. Ah, it hurts so much. Gu Mengqi, who had been trying to act tough just moments before, instantly let out a scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. She covered her face and rolled on the ground, the red wine mixing with blood, staining her white starry dress like a crime scene. Chi-Chi, Gu Chen rushed forward and pushed me aside. You poisonous woman, what have you done to her again? I wiped the red wine from the corner of my mouth, looking aggrieved. Bro, I was just standing here, I didn't do anything. Xiao Yakin trembled with anger, pointing at me and scolding, you jinx, ever since you stepped into this house, there hasn't been a moment of peace. You're deliberately trying to kill Chi-Chi. Gu Mengqi was convulsing on the ground, and he rushed over, sweating profusely, to the rescue once again. This time, the situation was quite severe. The wound had been soaked in talisman paper wine, so it needed to be debrided immediately. Hurry, take her down to wash it off. Gu Zhendong's face was as dark as ink, but this family actually didn't want to end the party yet, because the auspicious moment was about to arrive. The master had said that only by having relatives and friends witness the union of two pearls, at the auspicious moment would the effect of borrowing luck be the best. Thus, 10 minutes later, Gu Mengqi has appeared again. She is practically the epitome of, the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. This time, her eyes are swollen like walnuts, her head wrapped in bandages, and she is sitting in front of a piano. Xiao Yakin forcefully pushes me to the side of the piano and positions me in a specific spot. Yuan, your sister is going to play the piano to entertain everyone. You just stand here and turn the pages for her, so you can also soak up some of your sister's talent. Xiao Yakin tightly pinched my shoulder, not letting me move. I glanced at the yellow talisman behind the piano and sneered inwardly. Again, you really aren't afraid of death. The malice in Gu Mengqi's eyes was now undisguised. She leaned close to my ear and cursed in a low voice. The master said that once I finish playing this piece, your luck will be transferred to me through the sound of the piano. You'd better be sensible and cooperate properly, or don't blame me for not showing any mercy. Gu Mengqi gritted her teeth. This time, she was determined to succeed. She raised her hands, wrapped in bandages, and slammed them heavily onto the piano keys. With every note she played, she silently cursed me once. Die, give me your luck, give it to me. With the music growing more and more urgent, her expression grew increasingly ferocious, as if she had already seen me in a state of misfortune and destitution. However, just as she reached the climax, snap! With a loud bang, the string actually snapped on the spot. Immediately, there was a sharp crack sound. The solid wooden piano lid, weighing dozens of kilograms, came crashing down like the blade of a guillotine. Gu Mengqi's fingers, pressed firmly against the keys, had no time to pull back. Bang! The scene fell into a deathly silence. 1 second later, Gu Mengqi sprang up from the piano bench and crashed heavily to the ground. She rolled her eyes and convulsed all over. Upon closer look, all 10 fingers were neatly severed. Forget about playing the piano. Being able to hold chopsticks in this lifetime would be a medical miracle. Gu Mengqi was quickly taken away by an ambulance. I stood to the side, watching the Gu family in chaos, and let out a light sigh. I told you I have bad luck, but you insisted on borrowing it. Why wouldn't you listen to advice? The guests fled as if escaping a disaster. The rumor that the Gu family has bad feng shui instantly spread throughout the entire high society circle. Kneel down. Gu Zhendong slammed his hand on the coffee table, causing the teacups to rattle. His eyes were bloodshot, like a gambler who had lost everything. What kind of monster are you? The chandelier fell, the cup shattered, and the piano is broken. You're nothing but a jinx. Xiao Yakin was wailing beside her. My Chi-Chi, her hand is ruined. How will she ever play the piano again? Lin Yuan, you owe me my daughter. Gu Chen's face was dark and gloomy, holding a golf club in his hand as he stepped closer to me. Why waste words on such a troublemaker? beat her into submission, and see if she still dares to cause trouble. I stood in the center of the living room, facing the intimidating setup of a three-way interrogation, yet I remained eerily calm. If you think I bring bad luck, why not just send me back to the countryside? Why insist on keeping a jinx like me around? Or is it that there's still something you haven't gotten your hands on? For example, my life. This sentence hit them right in the gut. Gu Zhendong exploded on the spot. How dare you talk back? Lock her up. Gu Qin charged straight at me. He grabbed my hair without any regard for gentlemanly conduct, dragging me toward the storage room. With a loud bang, the door slammed shut, and the chain rattled noisily. In the darkness, I could hear the sound of anxious footsteps pacing outside the door. Dad, if Chi-Chi's hand is ruined, how will she marry into a wealthy family for an alliance marriage? Gu Chen was roaring. We must find a solution immediately. Doctor, he said there might be lasting effects. Zhao Yakin was crying. Where is the master? We must still invite the master. This girl's fate is too strong. Ordinary methods of borrowing luck simply won't work. This time, it was Gu Zhendong, his voice carrying a cold, ruthless edge. I sat cross-legged on the broken bed, pulled a piece of chocolate I had casually pocketed from my pocket, and slowly popped it into my mouth. Then, I pricked up my ears, listening to them discuss how to deal with me without any restraint. A few minutes later, the master they had been talking about finally arrived. Mr. Gu, I told you long ago that this girl is a lucky star child, a once-in-a-century find. The previous fortune-borrowing array was too gentle. It couldn't suppress her and instead provoked a backlash of the baleful energy. The master put on a show of sighing. Now there is only one way, not only to completely subdue her, but also to transfer her extraordinary fortune, flesh and bone, to Miss Gu. What way? As long as it can save Chi-Chi, I am willing to pay any price. Zhao Yakin asked urgently. Blood sacrifice. The master uttered two icy words. The air seemed to freeze for a few seconds. My chewing of the chocolate also paused for a moment. Blood sacrifice. Are these people in such a hurry to be reborn, using the heart's blood of a close relative as a guide and setting up the 7 killers soul-locking formation will surely succeed, but this method goes against the natural order and requires Mr. Gu to make a great determination. The master lowered his voice. Take her life. Gu Zhendong's voice hesitated for a moment. One need not die, but once the heart's blood is drawn, even if not dead, one would be reduced to a fool. However, as long as Miss Gu can recover and the Gu family's fortune can return, do it. Gu Chen interrupted without hesitation. A country girl, if she's foolish, so be it. We'll just take care of her for life. But Chi-Chi is destined to be a big star. Master, get ready. We're heading to the unfinished villa in the western suburbs right away. It's secluded. No one knows about it. But, isn't that illegal? Zhao Yakin was trembling a little. Accident, got it. Gu Zhendong's voice was venomous to the core. Just say that girl went mad and ran into the artifact herself. We can settle it with money when the time comes. I finally swallowed the last bite of chocolate. Borrowing luck didn't work, so now you're resorting to outright robbery. Are you trying to make me a fool? I touched my own chest. Heart's blood, is it? I'm afraid you won't be able to pierce my flesh, but instead, you'll end up blinding your own dog eyes. The next second, I was yanked to my feet. Gu Chen dragged me like a dead dog and shoved me into a black business car. Gu Mengqi was also sitting in the car, her body wrapped in bandages, looking just like a mummy. Sister, don't be afraid. Dad is taking you to pray for blessings. The master said that as long as we perform this ritual, you won't bring us bad luck anymore. I huddled in the corner, pretending to tremble with fear. The car headed west all the way, finally stopping in front of a villa in the desolate mountains. The ground was strewn with paper money, and red candles were lit in a complete circle, with a stone platform covered in white cloth at the center. What made me laugh the most was that, beneath the stone platform, the hilt of a poorly concealed knife was faintly visible. This was no blessing ceremony. It was clearly an execution ground. Gu Chen roughly pressed me down onto the stone platform. Tying my hands and feet tightly with hemp rope, I deliberately spoke up, my voice trembling slightly. Mom, Dad, I am your biological daughter. Did you bring me back just to transfer luck to the fake heiress? This kind of dark sorcery will bring divine retribution. Aren't you afraid of having nightmares every night from now on? Gu Zhendong's hand, which was lighting a cigarette, trembled, and the cigarette fell to the ground. Zhao Yakin's shoulders trembled slightly, her instinct to avoid trouble making her waver a little. Silence. Gu Chen slapped me across the face. What does it matter if you're biological or not? You're nothing but a curse. As long as Chi-Chi gets better, your death would be worth it. Dad, Mom, don't listen to her nonsense. Gu Mengqi also grew anxious, fearing that her parents might soften their hearts. Mom, Dad, have you forgotten how my face and hands were ruined? Have you forgotten how the company's stock plummeted? Once the ritual is performed, the Gu family can turn things around. I am the daughter who will bring fortune to the Gu family. She glared at me with venomous eyes, frantically signaling to the master. Master, let's begin, make it quick. The Gu couple fell silent and turned their faces away. The last shred of hope I held for blood ties grew cold within me. The master brought out a bowl of dark herbal soup. Force this down her throat. It can extract the vital essence. Gu Chen pinched my chin and forcibly poured it into my mouth. The medicine contained hallucinogens and anesthetic components. In less than half a minute, my vision began to blur. The time has come, activate the formation. The master brandished his sword, shouting incoherently. Gu Mengqi excitedly had someone push her wheelchair closer, wanting to witness my misfortune with her own eyes. By the swift command of the law, let the heart's blood appear. The master suddenly let out a loud shout and stomped on the wooden board on the ground. I understood. This wooden board was connected to a mechanism inside the stone platform. With just one step, a sharp blade would spring out from the center of the stone platform, piercing straight through my heart from the back. I clenched my lips, trembling all over. The moment he stomped down heavily, crack, the wooden plank suddenly broke. Due to inertia, the master lunged forward violently. The bronze coin sword in his hand flew out of his grasp. With a whoosh, it soared over my head and plunged straight into Gu Mengqi's thigh. Thud, ah, Chi-Chi, Zhao Yakin nearly fainted. In pain, Gu Mengqi flailed her arms, knocking over the candlestick and instantly igniting the liquor on the floor. Boom, flames shot up, setting the entire room full of paper money ablaze. The master's Taoist robe instantly turned into a ball of fire. A meticulously planned murder, in the blink of an eye, became a fire scene. Fire, run. Gu Zhendong had no time to think about borrowing luck anymore. The instinct to survive overcame everything. They pushed and shoved, dragging the half-dead Gu Mengqi, trampling over each other as they rushed toward the exit. Thick smoke billowed, yet no one looked back at me. Tied to the stone platform, deep despair filled my chest. I closed my eyes, letting the flames crawl up my pant legs. This girl is incredibly lucky to have survived by hiding in a blind spot of the altar. When I woke up in the hospital, it was already the third day. There are minor burns on the back, and the throat is a bit hoarse, but nothing serious. As for the Gu family, it's a tragic sight. Gu Chen broke his leg when a falling beam hit him while he was trying to escape. The master suffered 40% burns all over his body and is still in the ICU. Gu Mengqi's right leg was stabbed, and due to excessive blood loss and wound infection, she is at risk of amputation. Zhao Yakin suffered a heart attack from excessive shock and is still lying in a hospital bed. The first person to rush to my hospital room was Gu Zhendong. His first words upon arrival were not of concern, but a threat. Lin Yueran, that was just an accident. To the outside world, we can only say there was a mishap during the family recognition and ancestral worship ceremony. If you let the truth slip, the Gu family is finished, and you won't get off easy either. Leaning against the headboard, I looked at this so-called father who only cared about saving face and suddenly found it laughable. Right in front of him, I slowly pulled a voice recorder out from under the pillow. I had the caregiver buy it specifically for self-defense. I never expected to use it so soon. Knockout drugs, traps, the electrified device under the altar. And you're telling me this was an accident? This is premeditated murder. My tone was calm, but my eyes were like two sharp blades. Gu Zhendong's face instantly turned pale. He wanted to rush forward to snatch it, but I pressed the call button. Several nurses immediately rushed in. Mr. Gu, the patient needs rest. Please leave. Gu Zhendong gritted his teeth, finally pointed at me fiercely, and turned to leave. In that gaze, there was not a trace of father-daughter affection, only the intent to kill and be rid of me, but I didn't care. I unlocked my phone. The internet had already exploded. I don't even need to expose it myself. The news of the Gu family's misfortune couldn't be kept under wraps. After waking up in the hospital, Gu Mengqi vented all her resentment on the master. He's just a fraud, talking about borrowing luck. But he ended up crippling me, and that master who narrowly escaped death, in order to protect himself, confessed everything when questioned by the police. It has nothing to do with me. The eldest daughter of the Gu family is the mastermind. I was just paid to do the job. This recording of them turning on each other was unexpectedly captured by paparazzi who had been staking out the hospital and was posted online. Hashtag fake heiress of wealthy family plots to harm real heiress for luck. Hashtag attempting to borrow luck backfires. Hashtag Gu group superstition harms people. Hashtag. Several topics instantly surged to the top of the trending searches. The stock price of Gu Group plummeted to the limit down as soon as the market opened. While the Gu family was frantically spending money to remove the hot search, I contacted an authoritative media outlet and published an in-depth investigative report. This was all thanks to that metaphysics master. In order to make a contribution, he privately provided a shocking recording. It was the truth about a baby swap from 18 years ago. The report included a video of the old nurse's deathbed confession and several yellowed original medical records. Back then, Gu Mengqi's biological mother was actually the Gu family's nanny. She took advantage of the chaos in the hospital at the time to switch Gu Mengqi and me, and Gu Zhendong was actually the mastermind. In the recording, the young Gu Zhendong's voice was cold. This girl has a tough fate. The master said she would bring misfortune to her father. The nanny's daughter has a weak destiny, perfect for warding off disaster. The truth exploded like a nuclear bomb. Family feuds combined with superstitious murder. This is a script more thrilling than any TV drama. Gu Zhendong looked at the report, his hands trembling so much he could barely hold the tablet. How could this have leaked, all these years, for the sake of that elusive fortune? He had discarded his own daughter like trash while coddling the nanny's daughter in the palm of his hand. Now you're getting what you deserve. Zhao Yakin saw the news in the hospital room and let out a heart-wrenching scream. She grabbed Gu Zhendong by the collar. You kept saying you tricked Lin Yueran into thinking she was the real heiress, so you knew all along that she was our biological daughter. The daughter she raised with all her heart and maternal love turned out to be someone else's child, and she nearly killed her own flesh and blood with her own hands. At this thought, Zhao Yakin trembled with rage. She grabbed the 4 bottle and smashed it directly onto Gu Zhendong's head. Get out. Get out of here. I want a divorce. Gu Mengqi went completely mad upon seeing the news, ignoring the nurse's attempts to stop her. She dragged her useless leg and started a live broadcast in the hospital corridor. On camera, she appeared disheveled, with terrifying makeup. So what if it's true? Ha ha ha. Do you think the Gu family is any good? She roared at the camera, tearing off all the fig leaves. Who made Gu Zhendong so superstitious? He was afraid of being cursed to death. He's worse than a beast, giving away his own daughter. And Zhao Yakin, her charity foundation is just for money laundering. All her designer bags are fakes. Gu Chen is no good either, just a creep who peeped at me while I was showering. His whole family are devils. They all deserve to die. I turned off the computer, looking out the window at the gray and gloomy sky. My mood was surprisingly good. Gu Mengqi's outburst completely ruined the Gu family. The company went bankrupt and was liquidated. The mansion was seized by the bank, and all their so-called high society friends blocked them. But the reckoning of cause and effect was not yet over. Gu Zhendong still refused to give up. He somehow got his hands on a share transfer agreement and came to find me, looking disheveled and unkempt. Yueran, your father was wrong. As soon as he saw me, he fell to his knees with a thud, tears streaming down his face. Even though the company has gone bankrupt, there's still this last bit of overseas funds left, and it's all yours from now on. As long as you sign this and tell the police it was a misunderstanding, we can let bygones be bygones and live as a family from now on. He was putting on a show of fatherly affection in front of me. I looked at his graying hair and felt not a shred of pity. Mr. Gu, your tears are worthless. I swept that equity transfer document to the floor. This so-called overseas fund is actually a heavily indebted shell company, isn't it? You just want me to shoulder the debt, don't you? Gu Zhendong froze. With his last layer of disguise torn away, he revealed his ferocious face. You ungrateful daughter, if it weren't for you, would our Gu family have fallen? Making you shoulder the debt is an honor. Today, you will sign whether you want to or not. Before he could lunge forward, he was pinned to the ground by 2 plainclothes police officers who had been lying in wait. Meanwhile, Gu Mengqi was still making a last-ditch effort, though she was crippled and her reputation was in tatters. The poisonous flames of jealousy had already consumed her reason. She pawned the last of her gold and silver jewelry and contacted a group of desperados through the dark web. A 1 million deposit. She was hysterical on the phone, her voice venomous. kidnap Lin Yueran and sell her to the filthiest red light district in Southeast Asia. I'm going to make her taste what it's like to wish she were dead, unfortunately. Gu Mengqi didn't know that her phone had long been monitored by the police technical department. The police wanted to close the net directly, but I refused. Gu Mengqi has hidden a stash of private money for her escape, which she embezzled from the company by falsifying accounts. I calmly said to Officer Li, who was in charge of the case, "Let me be the bait." That night, I walked alone on the old street in the west of the city. I touched the miniature locator hidden under my collar. But my heartbeat remained surprisingly steady. Here, a van without license plate screeched to a halt, abruptly blocking my path. The door slid open with a loud clatter. 3 burly men wearing black hoods jumped out, brandishing gleaming machetes. The leader of the kidnappers reeked of alcohol. "Wow, you look even better in person than in the photo." He looked me up and down as if appraising a piece of merchandise. Toying with a coil of rough hemp rope in his hand, his smile full of ill intent. "Little lady, someone paid a hefty price for the rest of your life. How about coming with us for a ride?" I didn't scream, just silently took a step back, watching him coldly. "Did Gu Mengqi send you?" "Hey, you're quite well informed," the kidnapper leader sneered as he approached. "I heard you're some kind of jinx. Whoever you touch gets unlucky. Brother here doesn't believe in that nonsense. I've killed more people in my life than you've ever seen. And I specialize in dealing with all kinds of defiance." He suddenly reached out with his calloused, grimy hand, grabbing my collar with such force that I nearly choked. "Come on, let me borrow some of that luck too." A foul-smelling mouth moved close to my face. Another hand lewdly reached toward my waist. "I heard you're tough, with such delicate skin. Let's see how tough you really are." I didn't struggle, just looked into his eyes and whispered, "You'll regret this, regret." I've never learned how to write those words. The kidnapper's leader's wild laughter was still in his throat. Just as his dirty hand touched my skin, the next second, the crossbeam on the high-voltage power pole fell from the sky with a sudden, unexpected, crack, thud. The steel bar pierced right through the foot of the kidnapper's leader. A scream instantly tore through the night sky. The pain was so intense that his eyes felt like they were about to burst. And he instinctively tried to fall backward, but his feet were firmly pinned, forcing him to kneel before me in a bizarre posture. The remaining kidnappers were completely dumbfounded. The hemp ropes they were holding in their hands fell to the ground with a thud. This is just too damn coincidental. A steel bar falling from the sky, and it just happened to pin the boss to the ground. "Ghost, it's a ghost." One of them was so scared that his legs went weak, and he was about to run. "Don't move, police." In the darkness, countless high-powered flashlights suddenly lit up. Officer Li appeared with his team. Over a dozen guns aimed at the terrified criminals. Even as they were pinned to the ground, the surviving kidnappers continued to tremble, their eyes filled with the fear of witnessing something unnatural. Officer Li walked over, glanced at the screaming kidnapper leader, and then looked at the steel bar that had flown in from the sky. At that moment, his Adam's apple bobbed with difficulty. His gaze toward me grew somewhat complicated. "Miss Lin, your self-defense technique is a bit wasteful of building materials." I smoothed my disheveled collar and smiled faintly. "Officer, I told you, I'm a jinx." Gu Mengqi was at the airport, ready to flee, when she learned the operation had failed, but she never got the chance. When arrested, she was still clutching the briefcase full of illicit money, screaming like a madwoman. "How is that possible? That man is a desperado. How could he have missed?" In the interrogation room, when I threw the photo of the kidnapper with a steel bar piercing through his foot in front of her, Gu Mengqi finally broke down. She slumped in the chair, her eyes vacant, muttering to herself, "You are a devil, you truly are a devil." Soon after, the case went to trial. Outside the courthouse, cameras and microphones were everywhere. The case of the wealthy family's true and false heiresses, combined with a series of bizarre supernatural elements, made this case attract unprecedented attention. I stood in the witness stand, dressed in a solemn black formal suit. In the defendant's dock, the entire Gu family sat neatly in a row. They all wore handcuffs and drab gray vests, with not a trace of their former aristocratic glory in sight. Gu Zhendong's hair had turned completely white, as if he had aged 20 years overnight. Zhao Yakin looked dazed, muttering, "Retribution," over and over. Gu Chen glared at me, as if he wanted to tear me apart. Gu Mengqi sat in her wheelchair, her face filled with jealousy and cold resentment. The trial process was extremely dramatic. In order to get a reduced sentence, Gu Zhendong retracted his confession in court. Pointing at Gu Mingqi, he shouted hoarsely, "Your Honor, all of this was designed by this bastard. Back then, I was seduced by that nanny. Swapping the children was her idea. I am the victim. You're talking nonsense," Gu Mingqi screamed, interrupting, and lunged forward to scratch Gu Zhendong's face. Who was it that found the master back then? Who said the true heiress had a fate so harsh it would harm her father and couldn't be kept? Who used my birth chart to borrow luck to fill the company's deficit? It's you, you old, undying beast. And that master, who was left with only half a life, cried even more, with snot and tears streaming down his face. "Your Honor, the righteous judge, I'm just a wandering charlatan. I was just trying to make a living. The killings were all forced on me by them. When dogs bite each other, they end up with a mouthful of fur. The once superficial family bonds have shattered into nothingness. Not even a shred remains. It's my turn for the final statement. I look at the group of people below, tearing each other apart, and my heart is as calm as a stagnant pond. Your Honor, they once firmly believed that fate could be stolen, and karma could be bought and sold. They priced family bonds and placed lives upon the altar. They thought that with the so-called guidance of a master, they could escape the judgment of law and morality. I paused, my gaze sweeping over Gu Zhendong's ashen face. But I only believe in one thing. If there truly is such a thing as fortune in this world, it is the blessings that come from doing good and accumulating virtue, rather than fighting and scrambling at all costs. The gavel fell, like a clap of thunder. Defendant Gu Zhendong, guilty of attempted intentional homicide, kidnapping, major embezzlement, sentenced to life imprisonment, deprived of political rights for life. Defendant Gu Mingqi, guilty of intentional injury, attempted contract killing, incitement, sentenced to 20 years in prison. Defendant Gu Chen, guilty of intentional injury, sentenced to 10 years in prison. Defendant Xiao Yakin, guilty of harboring a criminal, sentenced to 3 years in prison. Defendant Xian Zhenzi, guilty of fraud and attempted intentional homicide, sentenced to 15 years in prison. At that moment, thunderous applause erupted in the courtroom. As Gu Mingqi was being dragged away, she glanced back at me with a look of despair. I waved gently at her, like seeing off a piece of trash. Gu Mingqi had a miserable time in prison, because of her arrogant personality and foul mouth. She offended the top dog in the prison during her first week there. I heard that one day in the bathroom. She slipped while fighting for a spot, and her face hit the edge of a step. That face, which had cost a fortune for a failed plastic surgery and subsequent repairs, was completely ruined. Now, she's gone mad, huddled in a corner all day, muttering, "I have dark magic. Stay away." Gu Zhendong suffered a heart attack and became paralyzed, spending the rest of his life in a room with nothing but iron bars. As for me, as the sole legal heir, I took over the clean assets after the liquidation. Those luxury mansions under Gu Chen's name, which were used to support his online influencers, I found them too tainted and sold them all. With the proceeds, I established a public welfare foundation called Spark to combat harm, dedicated to helping and assisting vulnerable women and children who have been deeply persecuted by feudal superstitions and subjected to domestic violence and psychological control from their families of origin. The foundation's logo is a golden star, surrounded by black flames, yet burning even more brilliantly and radiantly. 3 years later, a semi-public secret began to circulate among the upper-class circles. It is said that behind this foundation named Spark, there is a mysterious lady who keeps a low profile but possesses extraordinary means. Rumors suggest that she is not only decisive and efficient but also possesses a unique constitution. She can see through those evil spirits disguised in human skin at a glance. Anyone who harbors ill intentions or attempts to commit evil in her presence often encounters extremely bizarre, instant karma. Thus, there are always desperate victims who come to me through various hidden channels. The first major case I personally handled involved a wealthy abandoned wife. Her husband, in order to seize her family's immense fortune, conspired with his mistress to set up an almost flawless feng shui death trap. He also subjected her to long-term psychological manipulation and even attempted to create the illusion that she had committed suicide due to mental illness. She found me in her despair. I was invited to the celebratory family dinner hosted by her husband. That evening, he was proudly showing the guests the premium red arowana he had just bought for so-called wealth accumulation. Standing before the enormous fish tank, I looked at the tank of fish that had been maliciously forced to mature and simply smiled. saying, "This fish looks like it's a bit oxygen deprived," as if it's about to jump out of the tank. The husband was just about to mock me for not understanding feng shui. The next second, splash, the originally quiet red arowana suddenly seemed frightened by something, using all its strength to crash against the aquarium wall, that expensive aquarium. Custom made with bulletproof glass, actually cracked under the fish's impact right before everyone's eyes. Then, with a boom, the aquarium completely shattered. A whole tank of foul-smelling water, mixed with glass shards, rushed over the husband. He was knocked off his feet and fell in a disheveled heap. As he scrambled to get up in a panic, the water-stained wool in his arms, as if by some cruel twist of fate, slipped out and slid right to the feet of several lawyers present. The truth was laid bare. A week later, the husband left with nothing and was placed under investigation for suspected fraud. The wife came to the foundation office, crying, and presented me with a banner of gratitude and a check. I politely declined the check, helped her up, and looked out the window at the bustling traffic. Ms. Lin, you truly are a living bodhisattva, a great lucky star. I shook my head and smiled. The sunset outside the window reflected in my eyes. To some people, I'm a jinx. The days were calm and busy, until that afternoon, when Assistant Xiao Wang rushed into the office, looking both excited and mysterious. "Boss Lin, there's a strange order. We can't refuse it no matter what." I put down the data report on trafficked children from various regions and rubbed my temples. "I've said it before, I don't take private feng shui jobs. No, it's not about feng shui." Xiao Wang handed me a document. "It's a young man. He said he ran away from home. And he said, he can see a kind of black aura. He specifically asked to see you by name, saying that the sword you carry can save him." My hand, flipping through the file, paused. "Can you see black energy?" I had Xiao Wang bring the person to my private reception room. He was a boy who looked only about 16 or 17 years old, emaciated and bony. He was wearing an oversized t-shirt that clearly didn't fit, his eyes timid yet surprisingly bright, even from several meters away. I could sense a kindred spirit. The moment he saw me, he visibly shrank back, raising a hand to shield his eyes as if struck by a blinding light. "Sister," his voice was timid, carrying a hint of trembling excitement. "The aura on you is so strong, it feels like it's about to explode, yet also very sharp. Half of it is black, half of it is golden." I stood up, poured him a glass of warm water, and gently placed it in front of him. "Are you afraid when you look at the black half?" The boy held the water cup, shook his head, and his eyes fixed on me. "I'm not afraid. It's not like those man-eating black mists. It's more like a sword specifically meant to cut through those black mists." My heart suddenly jolted. Wielding stars as swords, I sever misfortune. For so many years, I have been seen as an ill omen, as the source of disaster. Only at this moment have I truly found peace. So this is the true meaning of my Calamity Star constitution. The heavens gave me these thorns so that I could become the night watchman, who wields a sharp blade and carves a path through the darkness. "Don't be afraid." I walked over and gently patted the boy's head, as if I were comforting my younger self, who had endured countless scornful looks in the countryside all those years ago. "From now on, I'll teach you how to use these eyes to root out all that filth." One by one, I led the young man out of the reception room. The midday sun pierced through the clouds, pouring its light unreservedly upon us. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. "Hello, this is Lin Yuan. Notify the legal department and the investigation team to prepare to take over the case of the Lin clan using superstition to abuse children." I watched the bustling crowd outside the window, a slight smile curling at the corner of my mouth. The so-called harbinger of disaster is merely another form of guardian deity. As long as the heart is righteous, calamity itself can be a form of justice. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The day I was recognized and brought back by the mafia family, my nominal father gave me a check for 10 million. He said it was the settlement fee for me to die in place of the fake heiress. My several incredibly handsome brothers surrounded the pitiful fake heiress. Eldest brother coldly warned me, "Put away your little schemes. Besides being a scapegoat, you have no other use." Second brother looked at me mockingly, "Don't even think of touching Wan's finger, or I'll make you leave horizontally." Third brother smiled gently, yet handed me a glass of drugged water. "Drink it, get some sleep." And tomorrow you'll obediently go see that madman from the Shao family. The fake heiress, Gun Wan Wan, hid in my eldest brother's arms, crying as if rain-soaked pear blossoms. Sister, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have caught Xiao Ju's attention. Clear water splashed down, instantly soaking the high-end white dress on Gun Wan Wan. Water droplets dripped from the hem of the skirt, and the living room fell into a deathly silence. The tear stains on Gun Wan Wan's face were still wet, her expression frozen in disbelief. The first to react was her second brother, Gu Lin. He has the worst temper and the simplest mind. You're fucking looking for death. With a furious roar, he charged at me like a bull, swinging his fist toward my face. I didn't even move. Just as his fist was about to land, my legs gave way. I accurately fell to the ground, seizing the moment to wrap my arms around the leg of my cheap father. Gu Wei, Dad, save me. Second brother is going to kill me, I wailed at the top of my lungs. Tears coming on cue. It doesn't matter if I die, but who will take the blame for my sister? The madman from the Shao family is still waiting. If anything happens to me, how will you explain it to them? Gu Wei's body instantly stiffened. Gu Lin's fist also froze mid-air, his face flushed with anger. He wanted to hit me but didn't dare to actually hurt me. And that hesitant, cautious look was utterly ridiculous. At that moment, my nominal elder brother, Gu Yan, the cold and aloof heir of the family, finally spoke up. 100 million, are you worth it? His voice held not a trace of warmth, as if he were appraising the value of a piece of merchandise. I clung to Gu Wei's leg, lifted my face, stopped crying, and smiled with righteous confidence. Of course I'm not worthy. This worthless life of mine isn't even worth 10 million, but... I changed the subject, pointing at Gun Wan Wan, who was still trembling in his arms. Her life is worth that price. You're spending 100 million to buy her life. It's a very good deal. Gu Yan's face darkened completely. Third brother Gu Qi adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, still wearing the expression of a smiling tiger. Xiao Che, one shouldn't be too greedy. Me, greedy. I felt as if I had heard the biggest joke in the world. You brought me back not to reunite with family, but to send me to my death, and now you're talking to me about greed. I extend 5 fingers, 50 million, in cash, plus an anonymous bank card. That's my bottom line, 1 cent less, and I'll walk out right now. Take a taxi to the Shao family, and tell them that your Gu family's precious daughter is an imposter. I'd like to see how that lunatic named Xiao Ju reacts when he realizes he's been played, how he'll torment your precious darling. The air froze once again. The faces of the Gu family men grew increasingly grim. In the end, it was Gu Wei who made the final decision. Give it to her. The money was quickly secured, 50 million in cash, packed into several briefcases, along with a pure black bearer card, was delivered right to me. I opened a box in front of them, pulled out several stacks of money, and examined them carefully. Gu Lin was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. What are you looking at? Do you think our family would give you counterfeit money? Without looking up, I replied, even brothers keep accounts clear, and we're not even related. After confirming everything was correct, I closed the box with satisfaction. I was assigned to stay in the attic on the top floor of the villa. The room was small, with only a bed and an old cabinet, and the windows were covered in thick dust. They isolated me as if I were a plague, only allowing the servants to leave meals at the door each day. I'm happy to have some peace and quiet. The next day, Gun Wan Wan came. She was carrying an exquisite food box containing a few pieces of French pastries that didn't look very fresh anymore. Sister, I specifically asked the kitchen to save these for you. She stood at the door, looking cautious and sisterly. Don't blame my brothers for what happened yesterday. They were just too worried about me. I was sitting cross-legged on the floor, typing rapidly on a second-hand laptop. Hearing this, I didn't even turn my head, just picked up a macaron from the food box and tossed it into my mouth. Too sweet. It's cloying. Stop pretending. I mumbled indistinctly. Leave the snacks. You can go. Gun Wan Wan's face instantly turned pale, and her eyes quickly reddened. Sis, how could you say that about me? I finally turned to look at her, expressionless. If you don't leave now, I'll smear all these pastries all over your freshly pampered face. She trembled in fear, crying as she ran away. I closed the door, swept those desserts into the trash, and went about my business. On the computer screen was a photo of a man, Xiao Ju. There was very little public information about him online, but every related keyword carried a scent of blood, brutal, perverse, mentally unstable. Rumor has it that he has a peculiar hobby, collecting interesting toys, and then, after growing tired of them, he personally destroys them. In the photo, he looks so handsome it's almost unreal, with a faint, elusive smile playing at the corner of his mouth, but in those eyes, there was a deep, unfathomable cold pool. I stroked my chin and settled on my core strategy. I would become the most boring, troublesome, and off-putting toy he had ever seen. 3 days later, the opportunity arrived. The Gu family is hosting a business party on a luxury cruise ship, and Xiao Ju is the most important guest at this party. Third brother Gu Qi personally came to deliver clothes to me, a white long dress, extremely similar to Gu Nuan's style, ethereal and graceful. Remember, he helped straighten my skirt, his movements gentle, but his words were laced with poison. Tonight, you must act as fragile and terrified as Nuan. You need to pique his interest, but you absolutely cannot let him touch you for real. He leaned close to my ear, his voice dropping to a whisper. If you mess this up, I'll make you pay with your life for those 50 million. I rolled my eyes inwardly. So many demands, wanting the horse to run fast but not letting it eat grass. I nodded obediently. Understood, third brother. The cruise ship party was ablaze with lights, filled with elegantly dressed guests, like a Cinderella who had stumbled into high society. I awkwardly held a glass of juice and huddled in a corner. I could clearly feel several cold gazes fixed on me from not far away. You are my good brothers. They are watching me, making sure this piece of mine lands precisely on the chessboard. Soon, the main character of the scene appeared. Xiao Ju, dressed in a well-tailored white suit, walked in surrounded by a crowd of people. He was like an elegant hunter, casually scanning the entire room, his gaze finally settling on my corner. He had spotted me. He picked up a glass of champagne, a hint of interest curling at the corner of his mouth, and began walking toward me. I saw my older brothers tense up. Here he comes. Here he comes. He's walking over with the script. I take a deep breath and begin my performance as well. Just as he is 3 steps away from me, I precisely twist my ankle and my body slams straight into a passing waiter beside me. Crash, a sharp crack. A large plate of spicy crayfish from the waiter's tray, along with the bright red broth and scalding chili oil, was perfectly, without a single drop wasted, smeared all over Xiao Ju's white suit pants. The entire hall fell dead silent. The melodious music came to an abrupt halt. All eyes were fixed on the chaotic center. Elder brother Gu Yan's face instantly darkened like the bottom of a pot. Second brother Gu Lin's mouth was wide open, as if he could swallow an entire light bulb. Third brother Gu Qi's smile at the corner of his lips completely shattered, and I immediately got into the state. I fell to my knees with a thud, wrapped my arms around Xiao Ju's leg, and cried my heart out, wailing as if the sky were falling. Handsome, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll pay for it. I'll get it dry cleaned for you. Please don't kill me, I wailed as I shamelessly wiped my snot and tears all over his expensive suit pants. My home just got internet, and I still want to go back and catch the finale of Country Love. I have an 80-year-old mother above and a 3-year-old crying for food below. Oh no, I have nothing. I'm just a poor wretch. Xiao Ju lowered his head. He looked at the few crayfish hanging from his trouser leg, feeling the woman on his leg, her mouth full of garlic flavor, crying with snot and tears. For the first time, his face, so handsome it could incite both human and divine wrath, showed a blank, bewildered expression. He probably never imagined that such an absurd scene would ever occur in his life. The people around were terrified, wanting to pull me away but not daring to approach this living king of hell. My brothers looked as if they could kill me with their eyes right then and there. I paid no attention. I held on even tighter. Handsome, how much for these pants? I'll give you an IOU. Can I pay in installments? Xiao Ju finally reacted. He slowly bent down and pinched my chin. His fingers were very cold. I was forced to lift my head, meeting his deep, unfathomable eyes. There was none of the rumored ferocity in them, only a kind of extreme, bewildered confusion, as if looking at a madman. Then, he smiled. Interesting. He lifted me from the ground with one hand, as effortlessly as picking up a kitten. You, come with me. I was dragged away from the party by Xiao Ju as if he were carrying a chick. Behind me were the ashen faces of the 3 Gu family brothers and the stunned gazes of all the guests. I was shoved into a Rolls-Royce. As the car started, I glanced back. Eldest brother Gu Yan's expression was unreadable. but his clenched fists betrayed him. Second brother Gu Lin looked relieved, as if thinking, finally, we've gotten rid of this jinx. Third brother Gu Qi was the most extreme. He resumed his smiling expression and waved at me. His lip movements clearly said, well done. They all thought the plan had succeeded. This disobedient, troublesome tool of mine has finally been sent to where it belongs. The car sped all the way and stopped in front of a heavily guarded hillside villa. I was escorted inside by 2 bodyguards in black. The villa was absurdly large, with a cold, rigid style in black, white, and gray, so spacious that echoes could be heard. I was thrown onto the huge leather sofa in the living room. My first reaction wasn't fear, but rather secretly sizing up the decor and furnishings around me. That blue and white porcelain vase, it looks like it's from the Yuan dynasty. Is it real or fake? The painting on the wall, I can't make out the signature, but it feels more valuable than my life. My mind quickly calculated which item would be easiest to take and most valuable when I made my escape. Just as I was planning, Xiao Ju came downstairs. Having changed into a black silk robe, he was drying his wet hair, his gaze sizing me up like a wild cat that had wandered into his territory. You're the daughter of the Gu family. Here comes the interrogation. I instantly switched to the innocent little flower mode, huddling in the corner of the sofa, my body trembling, my eyes filled with fear and innocence. Yes, they all call me Gu Che, I answered softly, my voice trembling with tears. He smiled, cold and wicked. The Gu family only publicly claims to have one daughter, named Gun Wan Wan. You, he said. Stepping closer, where did you come from? My heart skipped a beat. Does he know the inside story? No, looking at his playful expression, it seems more like he's trying to trick me. I decided to take a gamble and stick to my made-up story to the end. With tears in my eyes, I looked at him and began my storytelling. I'm her long-lost twin sister. Really? I grew up in a remote mountain village and was only found and brought back a few days ago. They said that as long as I come to see you in place of my sister, they'll give our village, no, they'll install broadband internet at my home, and even give us a 1-year membership. Xiao Ju fell completely silent. He probably never expected that the hostage he brought back would tell him such a rustic, down-to-earth story. He walked up to me, pinched my chin, and scrutinized my face as if studying some rare species. After a long moment, he let go and suddenly laughed. Interesting. You're much more interesting than the Gun Wan Wan in the records, who only knew how to cry and whimper. I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. I had bet correctly. The days that followed completely deviated from my expectations. There was no torture, no interrogation, and certainly no being treated as a toy to be destroyed. Xiao Ju kept me as a novel pet. I was well fed and well cared for, enjoying almost complete freedom. Except that I couldn't leave the villa. Every day I would sit on the carpet with a plate of cherries, telling him about my glorious past. Back in the day, when I was applying screen protectors under the overpass, I could earn 800 a day, and there's scalping concert tickets. Do you know what the essence of scalping is? It's the information gap, and there's Pinduoduo group buying. I once mobilized our entire orphanage to help Granny Wang next door get an electric rice cooker. Xiao Ju sat on the sofa, holding a glass of red wine, listening with great interest. He would even ask some professional questions, how to accurately identify professional opportunists and conduct reverse capital operations on second-hand platforms. How can you describe a 90% new item to create a 120% new premium value? The style has completely gone off track. This is not a kidnapper and a hostage. It's clearly a high-end private wealth-building session. I talked until my mouth was dry, and he listened with unquenched interest. I strongly suspect that this legendary madman is simply too bored with life, and I, a wild grass from the streets, full of tall tales and survival wisdom, happen to be a species he has never encountered before. He is filled with a damnable curiosity about me. The Gu family waited for 3 days. They didn't receive news of my death, nor did they face any retaliation from Xiao Ju. Everything sank into silence, just as they were about to lose their composure. An anonymous photo was delivered to the desk of the eldest brother, Gu Yan. In the photo, I'm holding a large bunch of sizzling lamb skewers, smiling as I feed them into Xiao Ju's mouth, and that rumored unapproachable madman is slightly bowing his head, opening his mouth to accept it, with an indulgence in his eyes that has never been seen before. The atmosphere is as ambiguous as that of a couple deeply in love. This photo caused a huge uproar in the Gu family. I personally heard the bodyguard delivering fruit speaking in a hushed voice on the phone outside the door. Yes, the Gu family is completely blown up. Gu heir is raging at home, saying that bitch dared to betray them. Guda has already started planning how to make Miss Jiang die by accident. My chewing on the chicken leg came to a halt. Miss Jiang. They even know my real name. It seems Xiao Ju's influence runs deeper than I imagined. In the evening, Xiao Ju sauntered over to me, casually waving his phone. On the screen was the photo of the barbecue skewers that had gotten me into trouble. He grinned like a fox that had just stolen a fish. It seems your family can't wait to make you shut up forever. I swallowed the last bite of chicken and licked the grease off my fingers. It doesn't matter. With 50 million in hand, where I retire is just a matter of location. I pretended not to care. Xiao Ju shook his head, leaned down, and moved closer to me. No, Jiang Che. He called me by my real name. My heart suddenly tightened, and I completely stopped eating the chicken leg. Word by word, he clearly exposed all of my disguises. Jiang Che, 20 years old, grew up in the orphanage in the west of the city. After turning 18, he left the orphanage and made a living by doing odd jobs and some, less than honorable dealings. 3 days ago, he was taken away by the Gu family under the pretense of finding their long-lost daughter. In reality, he was brought here as a stand-in for Gu Nuanyuan, to meet her fate. My blood almost froze in my veins. For the first time, I truly looked at him. The playful glint in his eyes vanished, replaced by a wild, blazing light. They treated you like trash and casually tossed you to me, and he reached out, gently stroking my cheek. My favorite game is turning the trash others have discarded into treasures they can never reach. His voice was low, carrying a mesmerizing power. Work with me, Jiang Che. I'll help you destroy that disgusting and hypocritical Gu family, letting you trample them underfoot with your own hands. And you, all you need to do is be my. His breath brushed against my face, warm and dangerous. I looked into his bottomless eyes, and my heart skipped a beat. Then, I swallowed the food in my mouth and let out a solid, satisfying burp. The romantic atmosphere shattered into pieces. Looking at his slightly stunned face, I asked seriously, be your what? A partner? Then there must be dividends, right? How about a 50-50 split? You provide the technology, I provide the people. Fair enough. Xiao Ju was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. He laughed so hard that he doubled over, tears welling up in the corners of his eyes. After laughing for a full minute, he finally stopped, wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, and leaned in close to me again. This time, there was something different in his eyes. No, he spoke each word with absolute clarity. Be my queen, this world is too boring, let's turn it upside down together. I hadn't had time to digest that statement. He had already picked up his phone, pulled up an interface, and handed it to me. And our first step, his voice was like the whisper of a demon, is to send a big gift to your dear brothers. On the phone screen, there was clearly a photo and video of Gu Lin, the second brother of the Gu family. The background was a dazzling underground casino overseas. In the video, he was so desperate from losing that he signed one IOU after another. In the photos were the evidence of his massive gambling debts, undeniable proof. Now, Xiao Ju's voice sounded in my ear. Your Majesty, it's time for you to give the order. Should we immediately make all this public and ruin his reputation, or shall we play something even more thrilling? I looked at Gu Lin's face, flushed with the desperation of losing, on my phone and smiled. Direct exposure would be too easy on them. I pushed the phone back in front of Xiao Ju. Sell this information anonymously to the Wang family, the Gu family's commercial archrival. Set the price at 200 million. Tell them that this blackmail is enough to make the Gu family's life a living hell. Xiao Ju raised an eyebrow, his eyes filled with undisguised admiration, using others to do the dirty work while making a fortune on the side. No, I shook my head, correcting him. This is called making the most of waste. The Gu family cares about their reputation, so they will inevitably pay a high price to buy back the evidence from the Wang family. In this back and forth, the Gu family suffers a major loss, while the Wang family gains a huge favor and leverage for free. From then on, the Wang family will cling to the Gu family like sharks that have smelled blood. And as for us, I extended my hand toward him. Not only can we secure 200 million, but we can also watch the tigers fight from the safety of the mountain. Xiao Ju looked at my outstretched hand, remained silent for a few seconds, and then grasped it. His palm was very warm. Deal, my queen. The development of events unfolded exactly as I had anticipated. Upon receiving this grand gift, the Wang family was overjoyed and immediately sent someone to contact the Gu family. Gu Yan was in the middle of an important board meeting when he received the news. It is said that he crushed the pen in his hand on the spot. To protect the family's reputation, the Gu family had no choice but to swallow their pride. Not only did they have to cover the astronomical gambling debts Gu Lin had incurred overseas, but they also had to pay the Wang family a hefty sum as hush money. Overnight, the Gu family suffered a severe blow. The entire family was shrouded in a low-pressure atmosphere. Gu Yan was no fool and quickly realized that this was no accident. There must be a traitor within the family, and I, the rebellious double, naturally became the prime suspect. Gu Yan has already arranged for someone to keep a 24-hour watch on this villa. I learned from the idle chatter of the bodyguards that he has issued a strict order. If I take even one step out of the villa, I will be dealt with on the spot. I sit by the floor-to-ceiling window, leisurely eating the airship cherries. Are they really eager to kill me right now? On the sofa across from me, Xiao Ju was wiping a strangely shaped dagger, not even looking up at my words. Yes, TSK. That's really ruthless. I spat out the fruit pit and said lightly, after all, they are your own flesh and blood. Xiao Ju's hand, which was wiping the blade, stopped. He raised his eyes, his gaze sharp as a blade, staring straight at me. You know, you've practically dug up my ancestors for 18 generations. How could I not know? I rolled my eyes at him. Switched at birth in the hospital 18 years ago. Classic melodramatic plot. That's right. I am the true bloodline of the Gu family, and that Gun Wan Wan, whom they hold in the palm of their hand, is just an imposter. Don't they know? Xiao Ju asked. They probably don't. I shook my head. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been willing to send me to my death. In their eyes, I am just a distant relative with a bit of blood relation, found from an orphanage, a perfect tool to replace Gun Wan Wan. They could never have dreamed that they would push their own daughter into the arms of their arch-rival. This is really too interesting. The internal strife within the Gu family has given me a perfect opening. I teamed up with Xiao Ju to release several carefully crafted pieces of news. Xiao Ju, CEO of the Xiao Group, has found a new love interest, and relations with the Gu family appear to be easing. Insiders reveal that Xiao Ju, to win a smile from the beauty, may abandon some of the commercial pressure on the Gu family. These rumors spread like wildfire, quickly circulating within the circle, as expected. Gun Wan Wan was the first to lose her composure. She was afraid. She fears that I, as the new favorite, will gain favor and completely replace her position. She is even more afraid that once Xiao Ju and the Gu family reconcile, she, the former catalyst, will immediately lose her value and be abandoned by the family. She must do something to prove that she is more useful than I am, so, through an intermediary, she obtained contact information for someone who is said to be a trusted confidant of Xiao Ju. Of course, the one she actually got in touch with was me. Xiao Ju dumped the mess on me, leaving me to handle it entirely. I switched to a new number and accepted her friend request. Gun Wan Wan's opening line was quite urgent. Are you someone close to Mr. Xiao? I replied with a single word. Yes, my name is Gun Wan Wan. I'm a daughter of the Gu family. She eagerly introduced herself. The woman currently by Mr. Xiao's side, named Jiang Che, is a fraud. I looked at the screen and almost laughed out loud. She's not even a member of our Gu family. She's just a stand-in we found to placate Mr. Xiao. She's insatiably greedy and malicious, capable of doing anything for money. Mr. Xiao must have been deceived by her. Every single word was a slander against me, to climb up by stepping on me. She began frantically selling out the Gu family's secrets to prove her own worth. My eldest brother is currently bidding for that piece of land in the southern part of the city. The reserve price is 3 billion, and that's their Achilles heel. My second brother is simple-minded and impulsive. Just provoke him a little with words, and he'll do any foolish thing. And my third brother, he appears gentle, but in reality, he secretly manages many shady dealings for the family. What he fears most is, one by one, priceless trade secrets were sent over by her without hesitation. She thought she was showing loyalty to her future patron. Little did she know, the person on the other end of the phone was the very one she most wanted to eliminate. Every word she said was recorded by me exactly as spoken. I compiled these chat records and recordings into a file and sent it to Xiao Ju. He replied instantly. Your dear sister is even more brainless than you imagined. I replied to him, no, she's not stupid. She's just extremely selfish. To preserve her own wealth and status, she wouldn't hesitate to use the entire Gu family as stepping stones. Unfortunately, she chose the wrong side to align with. I look out the window as the sky gradually darkens. It's time for some people to wake up from their sweet dreams. Gu Yan acted faster than I had imagined, following my trail. He traced his way to the orphanage where I grew up, then he found out about the sensational newborn mix-up incident that occurred 18 years ago at City First Hospital. The two main characters in the incident were surnamed Gu and Jiang. All the clues were connected. That night, Xiao Ju threw a document in front of me. It is the investigation report from the private detective sent by Gu Yan. The last page of the report includes a paternity test certificate. It clearly states, Gu Wei and Jiang Che have a biological relationship, with a probability of 99%, he knows, Xiao Ju said. I looked at the report, which detailed the miserable experiences I had endured over the past 20 years. Abused by my adoptive parents, I was abandoned at the entrance of an orphanage at the age of 5. In the orphanage, I was often bullied because of my introverted nature. To fight for a piece of steamed bread, I was beaten until my head bled. In winter, without thick clothes, I relied on newspapers I picked up to stuff inside my clothes for warmth. After turning 18, I struggled at the bottom of society, doing all kinds of dirty and exhausting jobs. I stared at that report and suddenly felt a strong desire to know, my dear elder brother Gu Yan, what expression would he have on his face when he sees all this? Would it be guilt, or would he feel that I, his own sister, have tarnished his noble record? I don't care. And this, Xiao Ju played another recording. From inside came the voice of Gu Nuanwan, dripping with flattery. As she spoke to a so-called middleman, that is, to me, peddling the Gu family's business secrets, all just to secure a chance to meet Xiao Ju, your third brother, Gu Qi, also obtained this through his own channels. Xiao Ju added, he is a clever man. Indeed, clever people hate being treated like fools the most. Once the seed of doubt is planted, it spreads wildly in the rotten soil of the Gu family. Gu Yan began to wonder whether the younger sister he had cherished for 20 years was truly as innocent and kind as she seemed. Gu Qi began to suspect that the sister he once found interesting might be a clumsy actress and a fraud. Only his second brother, Gu Lin, that simple-minded fool, remained in the dark. He had been confined to the house by Gu Wei due to his gambling debts. Every day, aside from cursing at me, he was busy thinking of ways to avenge his beloved sister Nuan Nuan. A huge rift has already emerged within the Gu family, and what I need to do is, at the most opportune moment, deliver the final, decisive blow to this rift. The opportunity soon arrived. Gu Wei's 50th birthday. The Gu family is hosting a grand family banquet, inviting all relatives and business partners. No matter how distant the connection, they need an occasion to put on a show of harmony. To prove to the outside world that the Gu family hasn't fallen yet, Xiao Ju also received an invitation. He handed the gilded invitation card to me, a hint of amusement flickering in his eyes. Your Majesty, are you ready to make your entrance? I took the invitation, my fingertips brushing over Gu Wei's name on it, and smiled. Of course, it's time to go home and take a look. Gu Wei's birthday banquet was held in the garden of the Gu family villa. Guests gathered in great numbers, with wine cups clinking and a scene of singing and dancing in full swing. When I arrived, the banquet was at its peak. I did not come alone. Xiao Ju's Maybach was parked at the main entrance of the villa in the most audacious manner. He opened the car door for me, like a knight bowing to his queen. I took his arm and slowly walked into the banquet hall. I was wearing a black strapless gown, the hem of which was adorned with tiny, scattered diamonds. Around my neck was a ruby necklace that Xiao Ju had given me, its fiery color making my skin appear as white as snow. Red lips, curly hair, radiating a powerful aura. She was a completely different person from the timid girl in cheap t-shirt and jeans I first saw when entering this house. My appearance instantly drew everyone's attention. The music stopped, and so did the conversations. All eyes were fixed on me and Xiao Jia beside me. I saw the faces of the Gu family. Gu Wei stood up in shock, almost dropping the wine glass in his hand. Gu Nuanyuan hid behind her eldest brother, Gu Yan, her face pale and her body trembling violently. Second brother Gu Lin pointed at me, so angry he couldn't speak. You. Eldest brother Gu Yan's gaze was extremely complex. There was shock, anger, and a hint of something I couldn't quite understand. Only third brother Gucci still maintained a semblance of calm on the surface. He pushed his glasses up and gave me a meaningful smile. I let go of Xiao Ju's arm and walked step by step to the center of the banquet hall. I took the host's microphone and cleared my throat. Good evening, everyone. Sorry to interrupt everyone's enjoyment, but before the birthday banquet begins, I'd like to show you all something interesting. I took out my phone and connected it to the large projection screen on site. Immediately, the screen displayed the chat records between Gun Wan and me. Every word of those slanderous remarks and those betrayals of the family's interests was clearly visible, line by line. Immediately following, was her sycophantic phone call recording. My eldest brother is just a blockhead. All he cares about day in and day out is the family's interests. My second brother is just a fool. As long as Mr. Xiao is willing to help me, I can tell you anything. Gun Wan's voice, amplified by the surround sound system, echoed throughout the entire garden, clear, yet piercing. The entire hall was in an uproar. Gun Wan let out a scream and collapsed to the ground. No. This isn't me. She framed me. She pointed at me, crying hysterically. But in the face of the evidence, her cries only seemed like a joke. Gu Wei trembled with anger, pointing at her, unable to utter a word for a long time. Second brother Gu Lin, the brother who cherished her as dearly as his own eyes, at this moment, his face was filled with the emptiness and pain of shattered faith. Elder brother Gu Yan and third brother Gu Qi appeared much calmer. They had known all along. But they never expected it. I would use such a brutal way to tear off this fig leaf in front of everyone. I watched this farce unfold with amusement as I walked up to Gu Wei. I threw the paternity test report onto the table in front of him. Mr. Gu, happy 50th birthday. This is my birthday gift to you. From today onward, Jiang Che, have no further connection with your Gu family. After saying that, I turned and left without a trace of attachment. Behind her was Gun Wan's desperate wailing and the sound of a family collapsing. The next day, her second brother, Gu Lin, found Xiao Ju's villa. He was unable to enter, stopped by bodyguards at the door. It rained heavily that day. He stood in the rain, from noon until dark, soaked to the bone and utterly disheveled. I curled up on the couch, watching him on the surveillance screen, expressionlessly crushing a potato chip. Xiao Jia handed me a cup of hot milk and asked softly. Not feeling sorry for him, I didn't even look up. Did he ever show any mercy when he wanted to kill me with a single punch? Gu Lin stood in the rain all night. Early the next morning, an ambulance took him away, unconscious with a high fever. Immediately after, it was third brother Gu Qi. He was smarter than Gu Lin. Knowing that forcing his way in would be useless, he began sending things to the villa every day. Today, he sent a box of what was claimed to be 1,000-year-old ginseng harvested from deep in the mountains and forests. Tomorrow, he would send a box of bird's nest of excellent quality. Various rare supplements were delivered in a steady stream. I accepted everything without question. Then they were immediately listed on second-hand trading websites. The title was clearly written, Gifts from a Former Wealthy Family. Selling at a huge loss to get some premium cat food for my feline master. I even specifically sent the product link to Gucci via an anonymous text message. I heard that after seeing it, he locked himself in his study and smashed his favorite set of purple clay teaware. Finally, there was the eldest brother, Gu Yan. He was the most direct and also the most generous. A black card with no spending limit was respectfully presented to me by his special assistant, accompanied by a note, written in his handwriting, bold and flowing. Come home, Xiao Che, we were wrong before. I accepted the black card. The next day, I used this card to purchase a massive electronic billboard in the most bustling area of the city center. On the billboard, a line of text scrolls 24 hours a day. Thank you for your generous gift, Mr. Gu Yan. May you and your father have a smooth journey to hell. Now, everyone in the city knows about the Gu family scandal. Gu Yan called me countless times, and I didn't answer a single one. Finally, he sent a text message, the words dripping with despair. What will it take for you to forgive us? I looked at this text message, smiled, and replied to him with 6 words. Unless you die, they think that a few belated apologies and some material compensation can erase the 20 years of suffering I have endured. It can offset the coldness and cruelty of them pushing me out as a scapegoat. Too naive. I am no saint. I am a vengeful spirit come to claim lives. I told them, your apology is as worthless as trash on the side of the road. I stewed the ginseng that Gucci sent into chicken soup and shared it with Xiao Ju. The taste is not bad. I still have one last trump card in my hand. That is the only relic left to me by my biological mother back then, a seemingly ordinary silver longevity lock. In the past, I only regarded it as a keepsake, until the night of the big commotion at the birthday banquet. When I returned to the villa and saw a stranger in the mirror, I took it off on a whim. The lock was cold to the touch, and there seemed to be a barely perceptible scratch on the inside. I pried hard with my fingernail, and the lock face actually popped open to reveal a small hidden compartment. Inside was embedded a micro memory card the size of a fingernail. I handed the memory card to Xiao Ju. He mobilized the most top-tier technical experts to crack its contents. Inside was the biggest scandal in the Gu family's history of rising to prominence. A complete chain of evidence documenting how they set up a scheme to take over a rival company, how they forced a business partner to their demise to complete the accumulation of initial capital. This includes account books, recordings, and a key video. There is a crucial video segment inside. In his youth, Gu Wei personally pushed his business partner off the rooftop, and that partner was none other than Xiao Ju's father. At the end of the video, my mother's terrified face flashed by. It turns out the feud between the Xiao and Gu families runs much deeper than I had imagined. It turns out that my mother had long known Gu Wei's true nature. She left this evidence, perhaps precisely so that one day, someone could overturn the wrongful case from back then. Xiao Ju watched the video, his eyes red and his entire body radiating a terrifying murderous aura. I placed my hand over the back of his hand, which was trembling violently. "What do you want to do?" He snapped back to reality, took a deep breath, and gripped my hand in return, the murderous intent in his eyes almost solidifying into something tangible. "What do you want me to do?" "Me?" I laughed. "Of course, to make them suffer for eternity. We did not choose to call the police, for dealing with such scum. The law is too lenient." Xiao Ju anonymously sent this evidence to all companies that had business dealings with the Gu family, as well as to major media outlets. Overnight, the sky fell for the Gu family. Partners are terminating contracts one after another, banks are demanding loan repayments, stocks have hit the limit down, and all affiliated industries have been seized. The scandal of Gu Wei killing for property has spread throughout the streets and alleys. I saw from the news that his hair turned white overnight, and he completely collapsed when he was taken away for investigation. The Gu family has completely collapsed. Gu Yan and Gu Qi worked tirelessly to save the company. However, they encountered obstacles at every turn and were eventually taken away together on suspicion of multiple financial crimes. Gu Lin, who was already mentally unstable, was driven completely mad by the shock and was sent to a psychiatric hospital. As for Gu Nuanyuan, the once cherished little princess, she was also sentenced to prison for her involvement in commercial crimes. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Once a prominent and powerful mafia family, just like that, turned to dust before my eyes. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of Xiao Ju's villa, watching the final report on the downfall of the Gu family in the news. There was no wild joy in my heart as I had imagined, only a sense of emptiness, a feeling of everything settling into place after revenge had been exacted. After the downfall of the Gu family, Xiao Ju took me to a place. It was a penthouse he had purchased, with a massive floor-to-ceiling window offering a sparkling night view of the entire city. The room was covered in bright red roses. The air was filled with a rich fragrance. He embraced me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. "Che Che, I have cleared all obstacles for you. Now, you can fulfill your duties as queen." He turned my body around and knelt on one knee, his posture devout. A velvet box was opened, revealing a perfectly cut pink diamond ring inside. "Marry me." His gaze was no longer the usual playful one, but a burning, unyielding obsession. "Become mine, stay by my side forever." He thought that by avenging our shared grudge, I would naturally become his trophy. He thought we were the same kind of people, destined to be together. I looked at him, the feigned smile on my face gone for the first time. I reached out and picked up that ring. The light in his eyes was at its brightest when I let go. The ring traced an arc through the air and fell onto the obsidian-covered floor with a crisp sound. Then, I looked into his eyes seriously and shook my head. "Xiao Ju, it was a pleasure working with you, but I won't marry you." His face instantly darkened. "Why not?" "I am not anyone's queen," I said. "I am just Jiang Che. I am grateful for your help during this time. We are the best partners. However, I will not become your canary, locked in this splendid cage." what I want is freedom. It is a life as vast as the sea and sky, defined by myself. Do you think you can just walk away? His voice was as cold as ice. Of course I can, I smiled, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. You've forgotten. It was me who discussed the partnership and profit sharing with you back then. Xiao Ju, do you really think I've just been playing your revenge game with you these past few months? I took a document from my handbag and tossed it in front of him. The source of the overseas funds you used to bring down the Gu family, the Anderson Fund, now has me as its largest shareholder. I leveraged the Gu family's 50 million. While you were dealing with them, I shorted all their related industries. My earnings are far greater than the dividends you gave me. I am no longer the Jiang Che who needs to rely on anyone to survive. Xiao Ju stared intently at the document. His eyes filled with a shock and disbelief I had never seen before. He probably never imagined that the blade he sharpened with his own hands would eventually be pointed at himself. He suddenly stood up, step by step closing in on me, surrounded by the oppressive feeling of an impending storm. Jiang Che, you can't leave. I won't let you leave me. His love was crazy, obsessive, and destructive. I did not retreat. I met his gaze and calmly declared, Xiao Ju, you cannot keep me trapped. This world is vast, and there are many games to play. I want to try a different approach. I'm leaving, no farewell, no looking back. I completely bid farewell to those regretful family members and also refused Xiao Ju's suffocating confinement. With my new identity, I boarded a flight to a foreign country. As the plane took off, I looked out the window at the city growing smaller and smaller, feeling a deep sense of peace in my heart. A new life has begun. 1 year later, I stand on the beach of a coastal town in the southern hemisphere, enjoying the warm sunshine and sea breeze. With the money I earned myself, I bought a small house with a garden here and opened a little cafe. The business is neither booming nor failing, it's just enough to support a comfortable and prosperous life. I thought everything from the past had been left far behind me, until that day, when my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar overseas number. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered it. On the other end of the phone came a voice I knew to the very core of my being. Had enough fun, my queen? It was Xiao Ju. His voice carried a hint of laughter and an unmistakable trace of obsession. The game has just begun. This time, it's my turn to find you. I listened to the voice on the other end of the phone and smiled as well. Without saying a word, I hung up the phone directly. Then, I raised my hand and threw that phone far into the blue sea, under the sunlight. The sea surface rippled with a small circle, and soon returned to calm. In this new life, who is the prey and who is the hunter? It's not certain yet. I turned around and walked towards my cafe. The weather is nice today. Perhaps it's time to launch a new dessert. Let's call it Madman's Love. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.